All right, so what's up, y'all? I want to talk to you real quick about Jesus Christ. So when people hear me say I believe on Jesus Christ, they think I'm under the European persuasion. Oh, Livy, say hello, Liv.
Hey!
All right, that's Liv, y'all. So yeah, so when I say I believe on Jesus Christ, people be thinking like, oh, he's brainwashed with the European persuasion, but that's not it at all, folks. You got to do, you got to go a little deeper with me, right? The letter J wasn't around in ancient times, right? The letter J was, so the name is actually Yeshua, Yeshua, and and in Greek, the Greek transliterated, right, from the Aramaic from the Hebrew, and it's Ayasu in the Greek. And when you translate from the Greek into the English, when now we actually have the letter J, it's pronounced Jesus in English. So this is where the word Jesus comes from, but it's a transliteration of Yeshua to Greek into English, right? So I have that much information. Secondly, understand this: I don't believe when I say I believe on Jesus, I'm not talk. I believe on the historical Jesus. I believe that there was a man in the flesh that came in the flesh. Definitely, white man, not at all. You look at the region in which he's born, Bethlehem. If you believe that context, but I don't want to get too much into the historical aspects. Here's my belief on Jesus. Every 29, put it like this: every 29 and a half days, a woman goes through her menstrual, right? Every 29 and a half days. It's either between 29 and a half to 35 days, depending on how she eats, her body, genetics, etc. But generally, it's 29 and a half days. Just rounded off every 30 days. But do you guys know that when a woman goes through her menstrual every month? But we do too, right? Men. But we don't go through a menstrual in that sense. We go through what's called a psychophysical germ. Every 29 and a half days, when the moon, right? When the moon enters into the sign in which you're born, your zodiac, there's a psychophysical germ that is birthed or germinates in our solar plex. This is every human being. It's not, it's every human being. And every 29 and a half days, that germ that begins in your solar plex, it travels up into the brain and secretes the oil of gladness. The Bible calls it the oil of gladness, but it's not really the oil. It's called the oil in biblical terms, but it's actually in medical terms, it's the melatonin. It upgrades your melatonin. So every 29 and a half days, there's a seed or a germ that actually has its inception in your solar plex. It is carried up into the medulla oblongata. From there, it's going to the optic thalamus. From the optic thalamus, it goes into the pineal and pituitary, which is the Joseph of Mary in the Bible. Now, the pineal and the pituitary secretes, again, it upgrades what's called melatonin, right? The brain, the pineal gland naturally creates melatonin, but based off the 29 and a half days that this germ germinates in the solar plex and reaches its way up into the optic thalamus, into the pituitary and the pineal, it's now no longer just melatonin and serotonin. It's an upgraded version. And this upgraded version is called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Dimethyltryptamine is what activates all those dormant and latent brain cells in your brain, in your cerebrum and cerebellum. There's trillions of brain cells that are not active, right? Why am I telling you this? Because this is the Jesus that I believe in. Because Jesus in Greek and in Latin also means, yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right. Daddy's like busy. All right, thank you. Yeah, so Jesus in the Latin is chrism. And chrism means oil. It means oil or to be rubbed or smeared with oil. What that means physiologically and anatomically is that same explanation I just told you about every 29 and a half days, this is all scientifically proven, right? In your solar plex, right? Just like a woman has a menstrual. So the Jesus I believe in is the seed that is within us, because Jesus means oil, okay? That's what Jesus also means, oil. It means it's translated as chrism. Excuse me. She distracted me. I'm gonna blame that on her. The last name, Jesus means Yeshua. Yeshua means saves. Yeshua means Yah who saves. Jesus who saves. Christ, the last name, Jesus Christ. Christ comes from the Latin chrism. Chrism means oil. Oil is the same substance that I just explained to you is what's released, the that is upgraded version of melatonin and serotonin into what's called dimethyltryptamine, DMT. And DMT is a upgraded version of these chemicals, biochemicals, that activates the latency of your brain waves and allows you, or your neurons, and allows you to have a 4D or a 5D or a 6D or 7D. You experience other dimensions. Right? People take ayahuasca, they go and take drugs to experience this, but your body naturally creates this germ, this seed that works its way up your system. All right, now the question is then, okay, if this happens, how come people ain't living their best lives, their better versions, walking in their purpose? Hold on, what's up, boo-boo?
Could we do this video
All right, wait. So people are not, why a lot of people are not experiencing this, and why this probably sounds strange to some of us, or like, this brother don't know what he's talking about. The reason why a lot of us are not experiencing this thing and not having these experiences and not, conquering life more so to speak, is this is found in the book of, I believe it's Luke, the prodigal son. Prodigal means to waste, spendthrift. You waste, you spend recklessly and riotously, right? The prodigal son is an allegory that teaches you why a lot of us are not having the seed return to the optic thalamus, which is which has the pineal and the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. Why we're not having that experience is because we're the prodigal son. We're wasting our seed. The prodigal son, he took his substance and he went out and wasted it. That's an allegory to say that a lot of us are taking our sperm, we're taking our semen, and we're wasting it on women. We're wasting it on sex. Sex is only supposed to be to procreate, right? It's not merely for pleasure. But we take it, we take it and we're wasting we waste the seed. We squander the seed. That's what the prodigal son story is about. Squandering our semen, squandering our seed. And that squandering of that seed, here's why it prohibits, it inhibits, and it stops this whole DMT experience by means of the germination every 29 and a half days when the moon is in your sun cycle. When the moon is in your zodiacal, or your sign, your birth sign, every 29 and a half, and the moon stays there 2.5 days, 2.5 to 3 days, right? So which also is symbolic of Christ being buried in the earth 3.5 days, just like Jonah was in the whale belly 3.5 days. The seed remains in your it germinates within your solar plex 3.5 days, and then it raises up, right? But why it doesn't raise up, and why we're not having these amazing divine experiences is, again, here's the number one reason. I just gave it to you, but let me tell you the technicals of how it works. Every time you release your semen, it takes you 60 days to replenish. 60 days. So if you have one orgasm, it takes you 60 days to replenish that cycle, to reproduce. It's called spermatogenesis, to replace that semen. So most people, let's be honest, you're having sex way more than once. You get what I'm saying? So if you have, if you have, it takes 60 days, which is 2 months. So if you have sex 6 times, that's a year. 6 times 2 is 12. So if you have sex 6 times, which just people could do that in a day or a few days, right? Or if you have 6, let's say you're having once a day, so that's 7 times a week. But let's just say you're doing once a day, 6 days out of the week. It takes you a year to replenish that semen that you release. Now, if you think about that practically, people have sex consistently. We're in an over-sexualized society. So the majority of society is over-sexualized. Right? Whether you're having sex or whether you're masturbating. So that means you always walk around with an empty tank. In other words, I'm bringing it home. The majority of people are walking around with an empty tank. That is the practical application of the allegory of the 5 foolish virgins and the 5 wise virgins. 5 of them had enough oil in their lamp. The other 5 did not have oil in their lamp. The lamp represents the body. The oil is the semen. The oil is the semen. It's called sacred secretion. So that's the equivalence of that 5 foolish virgins. Most of us, the modern society is equivalent of the 5 foolish virgins. We're all walking around with empty barrels, right? Gas tank is on E. Think of your car. Your gas tank is less than a quarter, right? So you can barely get anywhere. Your car can't go far. Right? Because you don't have any gas in it. And that's your body We literally, this is like, they know this. The powers that be know this. The average human being is walking around with an empty thing. No matter how much productivity you're doing with your job, your work, you have enough energy to get the bare minimum done, to do your 9 to 5, pay your bills, take care of your the bare minimum. But as far as like breaking out, get into that next dimension, like I said, activating those neurons that are dormant. That's why they say you only use 10% of your brain, right? That's why they say you only use 4% of your DNA, because that's why they say that. So that means 96% of your DNA is inactive, right? 90% of your brain waves are inactive, or your neurons are inactive. The reason why is because they know most people will never transcend and get into that, because you're constantly squandering your seed. The prodigal son, he took his substance, and he went out and he spent it riotously, drugs, women. Then he had to go sleep go sleep in a pig pen, right, in the mud, and eat pig food, right? That simply means that when we overindulge ourselves so much, that we're so overindulged in our lower desires, in our animal passions and animal instincts, that your divine nature will never ever meet its full potential. So that's the answer to why, if what I'm saying is true, how come more people are not, tapping into this? More people are not doing this. More people are not doing greater things with their lives, greater things within the society. It's that simple. Most of us, that 29 and a half day, when that germination begins, that seed never makes its way up to the optic thalamus. It actually goes down to the lower Egypt, which is the lower chakras, the lower primitive, below your navel. That's called lower Egypt, because those are your lower, that's where all your passions, your animal instincts, your sexual energies, all that rests down there. And that seed that germinates in your solar plex, and the word solar pertains to the sun. There's a scientist to that too. But the reason why it doesn't go up, the seed doesn't make its way to the optic thalamus. It goes down into the loins and is released. Why? Because we're having sex all the time, right? And you're giving away your life force. It's called your life force. You're giving away that force. So that's why most people are dormancy. What's up, boo? Okay, all right, fantastic. All right, y'all. So that's it for now. Peace.